Crossing the Lu River again, the barbarian king is captured once more. Seeing through a false surrender, Meng Huo is captured for the third time. Zhuge Liang released Meng Huo, leaving all the generals deeply puzzled. They entered his tent and asked, "Meng Huo is the leader of the southern tribes. Now that we have finally captured him, why not simply execute him and bring peace to the south once and for all?" Zhuge Liang smiled calmly and replied, "Capturing this man is easy, but if I cannot make him truly submit in his heart, then peace will not last. What I want is not temporary obedience, but genuine surrender." Although the generals nodded, many of them still did not fully understand. After returning to the Lu River, Meng Huo met the scattered remnants of his defeated tribal forces. To restore morale, he boasted that he had fought his way out of the enemy camp and escaped by force, making himself sound fearless and heroic. His men believed him, and their spirits quickly rose again. He soon gathered troops from many tribes and reassembled a massive army. Dong Tuna and Awinin were also forced to come with reinforcements. After judging the situation, Meng Huo decided to make a firm stand at the Lu River. He gathered all the boats and rafts to the southern bank, built walls and stockades, dug trenches, raised arrow towers, and arranged defenses along the mountains. He believed that the Shu army had come from far away and was suffering from the extreme heat. If he could simply drag things out, the enemy would eventually have no choice but to retreat. When Zhuge Liang arrived at the Lu River, he did not rush to attack. Instead, he first observed the terrain and ordered his army to spread out and camp in cool, shaded woodland areas to avoid the summer heat. Seeing this arrangement, Jiang worried that the troops might become vulnerable to fire attack. Zhuge Liang only smiled faintly and said, "I already have a plan." Not long afterward, Ma Dai arrived with 3,000 troops, along with grain and medicine. Zhuge Liang assigned him a critical mission: cross the river by night from a downstream sandbank, move behind the enemy lines, and cut off their supply route. At first, Ma Dai tried crossing during the day, but poisonous vapors from the river caused many of his soldiers to collapse and die. After learning of this, Zhuge Liang questioned local people and discovered that the Lu River was most dangerous during the daytime, while it became passable at night. So the crossing was changed to nighttime. This time it succeeded. Ma Dai crossed safely, seized Jia Mountain Pass, blocked the main road used by the tribal army to transport provisions, and captured a large number of grain carts. At this same time, Meng Huo was still in his camp drinking and feasting, fully convinced that the Shu army would eventually fail. Only when his supply line was severed did he suddenly realize the danger. He quickly sent Meng Yicheng to engage the enemy. But as soon as Meng Yicheng entered battle, he met Ma Dai and was killed in a single exchange. The tribal forces were thrown into disorder and suffered a heavy defeat. Furious, Meng Huo then sent Dong Tuna into battle. Dong Tuna had once been spared by Zhuge Liang and was already shaken in spirit. After being openly rebuked by Ma Dai, he felt too ashamed to fight and withdrew without battle. Meng Huo believed he had betrayed him and nearly had him executed on the spot. Only after repeated pleas from others did he spare his life, instead ordering him to be beaten with 100 heavy strokes. This cruel act chilled the hearts of the other tribal chiefs, who secretly began discussing rebellion. That very night, Dong Tuna led a group into Meng Huo's tent. Taking advantage of the fact that Meng Huo was drunk, they tied him up and delivered him to the Shu camp. Meng Huo was once again brought before Zhuge Liang. Zhuge Liang asked him whether he was finally convinced. Meng Huo still refused to admit defeat, insisting that this time he had only been brought down by internal betrayal. Zhuge Liang did not grow angry. Instead, he laughed and released him once more. He even took him around the Shu camp, showing him the army's formations, supplies, and military equipment, so that he could see with his own eyes how strong the Shu forces really were. He went even further and promised that if Meng Huo truly surrendered, he could continue to rule his people as king for generations. But Meng Huo replied, "The people in my lands have still not accepted this. Let us fight one more time. If I lose again, then I will surely submit." Zhuge Liang gladly agreed and personally escorted him back across the river. After returning to his own camp, Meng Huo appeared calm on the surface, but inwardly he became even more unwilling to yield. First, he set a vicious trap. Under the pretense of assigning them an official mission, he summoned Dong Tuna and Awinen, then had them executed on the spot to eliminate future threats. After that, he secretly conspired with his younger brother Meng Yu to prepare an even greater scheme. Meng Yu brought gold, silver, ivory, rhinoceros horn, and other valuable gifts, pretending to surrender to Zhuge Liang. In truth, the plan was to coordinate an attack from inside and outside the Shu camp. But this scheme had already been seen through by Ma Su. After reading Massachusetts Sue's secret memorandum, Zhuge Liang laughed and said, "Exactly as I expected." He then secretly arranged Zhao Yun, Wei Yan, Wang Ping, Guan Suo, and others in hidden positions, preparing to counter the enemy's trap. When Meng Yu entered the Shu camp, Zhuge Liang welcomed him warmly and treated him to a grand banquet, making him lower his guard. Unknown to Meng Yu, the wine had already been mixed with a drug. Meng Yu and all the accompanying tribal soldiers soon collapsed, lying senseless like dead drunk men. On the surface, the Shu camp seemed loose and unguarded, but beneath that calm appearance, everything had already been set in motion. When night fell, Meng Huo led 30,000 tribal troops in 3 separate columns to launch a surprise raid on the Shu camp. He ordered each unit to carry fire-starting tools and use flames as the signal, hoping to burn the camp in one strike and capture the enemy at the same time. Meng Huo personally led the elite troops straight toward the central command camp, determined to seize Zhuge Liang. But when he charged in, he found the camp strangely empty. The tents were brightly lit, yet no one was there. The silence felt unnatural and unsettling. He rushed into the main command tent and saw Meng Yu and his followers sprawled across the ground, as if dead drunk. Only then did Meng Huo realize he had been deceived. He turned to retreat at once, but thunderous battle cries suddenly erupted from every direction. Wang Ping struck from the front, with flames blazing high into the sky. Wei Yan attacked from the flank like a tiger springing from its cage. Zhao Yun charged in from another side, his troops surging forward like a tidal wave. The 3 armies closed in at once. The tribal soldiers instantly broke apart in panic, fleeing in every direction. Fire spread across the battlefield, and the entire scene fell into chaos. Seeing that the situation was hopeless, Meng Huo abandoned his troops and fled alone toward the Lu River. At the riverbank, he saw what appeared to be tribal soldiers operating boats, so he quickly boarded one in hopes of escaping. But before the boat had gone far, a signal horn sounded, and hidden forces rose from all sides. It turned out that Ma Dai had disguised his men as tribal boatmen and had been lying in wait there all along. Meng Huo was captured on the spot, falling into Zhuge Liang's hands for the 3rd time. When Zhuge Liang saw Meng Huo again, he still did not kill him. Instead, he smiled and asked, "Are you convinced now?" Meng Huo still argued stubbornly, claiming that the failure had come from his brother's greed and carelessness, not because Zhuge Liang's strategy had defeated him. Once again, Zhuge Liang released him. He also had Zhao Yun, Wei Yan, and other generals display their military strength along the route, placing Meng Huo under pressure everywhere he went. Meng Huo returned in humiliation and frustration, but he still refused to bow his head. After going back to his stronghold, he became furious and began calling for aid from tribes in every direction, preparing to gather hundreds of thousands of soldiers for yet another great battle against Shu. When Zhuge Liang heard this, he only smiled calmly and said, "Good. Let him gather all of his forces together. Then one battle will settle everything." Summary. This chapter deepens the famous strategy of capture and release. Zhuge Liang demonstrates not only military brilliance, but also profound psychological insight. He understands Meng Huo's pride and refusal to yield, and deliberately captures and releases him repeatedly to break his will over time. Tactically, Zhuge Liang employs layered strategies, exploiting environmental conditions, poisonous river, night operations, cutting supply lines, deception, empty camps, and ambushes. Each move leads the enemy deeper into carefully prepared traps. Strategically, his goal is not quick victory but lasting peace, achieved by winning the enemy's heart. This reflects the principle of winning without force, where psychological dominance outweighs sheer military strength. Ultimately, the conflict becomes not just a battle of armies, but a contest of intelligence, patience, and human nature. Key insights. Historical records only briefly mention Zhuge Liang's southern campaign and pacification of the region. There is no detailed account of repeatedly capturing and releasing Meng Huo as described in the novel. The historical existence of Meng Huo himself is debated among scholars, as detailed biographical records are lacking. The scale of the war is greatly exaggerated in the novel. While the story describes hundreds of thousands of troops, historical campaigns in the region were more localized and far smaller in scale.